Everyone has a way with words, quite like our new housing secretary, Dr. Ben Carson. He recently toured housing facilities for the poor in Ohio and said that you can't make these places too comfortable, because then people will want to say, I'll just stay here. They'll take care of me. It just feels, Ben, like you're kind of blaming poor people for being poor.
Yeah.
You think poor people want to stay in the housing? Because I got to tell you, all I could think of was how to get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
And I lived in fairly good housing that is still there, that I'm proud of, in the middle of Manhattan.
Yeah.
You know, everybody is aspirational. People are trying to get out. Why are you making it harder?
Exactly.
You know what interests me about this particular type of policy? It's like what they're saying is if you help poor people, it will develop dependency. That's what they're basically
well, that's the
saying.
same language they used for people who were on welfare, forgetting that nobody wants to stay on welfare. Nobody ever wanted to stay on welfare.
The idea is that you give something and people will become dependent.
Well, no,
but it does not ever apply to rich people, such as Donald Trump, who got, I believe, $14 million from his father. And no one ever says, gee, how dependent is he on that $14 million?
Because no, it actually isn't, because he got that from his father. The point that they're always trying to make is, see, everybody, they're living off you.
Yeah.
They're just sucking stuff off of you. And this is a lie that they've perpetuated with young women who were getting pregnant when they were getting pregnant, people on welfare. You know what? People do want to work. They'd like to work. But perhaps if you stop slashing jobs or ways to get jobs, maybe that would help. Or maybe if you didn't make people feel like they hadn't put anything in the past, because people who work, you know, you put money into the government, you put money, you pay your taxes, and that's what it's there for.
Sadly, there are people that are going to always be in public housing, and some of these groups are people like mentally ill, who we close state-run mental hospitals.
That's no way to talk about me.
But they don't have a place to go. We have short-term facilities. We don't have long-term. There are people here that you're taking for granted when you make statements like that. They may always depend on these places.
What was upsetting to me is that he is supposed to be the HUD secretary, so he's someone that is supposed to have done his research, and what he should know is
You're assuming there's research?
I'm assuming that, and what he should know is that 31% of the people that are in public housing are our elderly. That rely on that. Another significant
drug
thing, and another significant part are children. And so what he's
addicts.
So what he's saying is that the elderly shouldn't be put in places that are too comfortable. And I was so sickened.
People shouldn't have TVs. That got me.
Yeah.
How would we know about that?
I think we have to explain it, though, because Republicans oftentimes jump in and they separate the mentally ill, they separate the elderly, and they say, oh, no, we're talking about able-bodied people. And I'm here to inform them there are also able-bodied people who've been dealt a rough lot in life, and they, too, need public assistance. Now, if Republicans were smart, why not come in and say, acknowledge that there are people that need this? Let's pair it with opportunity programs to get those people out there where they have internship opportunities, where they have job opportunities.
That's what the Obama administration did.
Well, that's right, but you know what? That role of government is something that I can support, because that's giving people a sense of self and saying, you know what, I can do this, and turning them out into that workforce where they're going to have an opportunity to fulfill their potential.
What you're talking about basically is investing in people.
That's right.
And the Republican Party right now is not interested in investing in people. They seem to want to starve the poor and starve the beast so that everybody has to pick themselves up.
Not all Republicans and not all conservatives.
I'm not talking about all Republicans here.
Right.
I'm talking about the policies of the Republican Party at the moment. Let me be specific, okay? And I think that that's what they are interested in. Tax cuts at the very top and no concern for people at the bottom. And they just want to starve these people out.
No, I think there's a disconnect. I think that many Republicans are interested in job growth and are interested in keeping those taxes low at the top, because they want those job creators to also flood that money back into the economy and hire people and all of that. And that's fine.
Where are they?
No, but you can
Why aren't they
what I'm
speaking up?
saying is you can have that argument, and you can also say, okay, but we're missing a whole bunch of people over here as well who need assistance and who also need that incentive and need that help to get out there. there and become members of this society that can contribute.
Where are these
and do what they can
warm-hearted?
do.
Where are these warm-hearted Republicans?
I'm not
though,
a
Jed?
Republican, but I'm pretty warm-hearted.
Where
I'm
are
right here.
I'll tell you what,
You said
they
you're not a
are.
Republican. Why are you defending
No,
them?
because I'm a conservative. I'm a
policy.
conservative.
Well, where are these warm-hearted conservatives?
Yeah.
Why don't they speak up?
Some of them have spoken up. A couple
not
of them.
enough.
Well, listen, not enough of anybody has spoken up.
That's
Nobody's
true.
saying jack. If you ask me.
every time-
But one of the reasons that nobody says anything on the other side is if they actually solve this problem, they'd have nothing to bitch about.
Every time on CNN they say, well, this topic is on both sides of the aisle. And then they drag out Senator McCain. He's the only one who speaks against the party.
Well, the two ladies, I will say those
Susan
two
Collins.
women, those two
I
women.
don't hear from her
Lisa
lately.
Murkowski. I mean, there are Republicans.
I've
But
never
they
seen
are
them.
there. And so
They
what
are
we got to
there.
do is support the ones that actually are doing something and force the people who we know who should be supporting them saying, hey,
Put some
we
pressure on
got
it.
your back on this because you're right. But that doesn't exist there, and that's the problem. That's the problem. It could be better. I mean, come on, Joy, let's go to Washington, damn it. Let's just go over and fix it all.
Look at how they tried to change the ACA by making it even harsher for poor people. That was the freedom clause, so-called
That's not what they're
freedom
trying to
clause.
do, though.
Freedom to be
they're trying
We're
to get
going to be all
government
over this topic tomorrow, actually, as the bill to repeal and replace Obamacare again that is up for a vote in just a couple hours from now. And what I think we're going to say to folks is we're imploring you to watch and hold your local representatives responsible for whatever ballot they cast today. Because you know what? Everybody is not as well off as we are. Everybody doesn't live in a city where we have a lot of protections. But the places that they're not protected, where they should be protected, we have to make sure that they're getting what they're supposed to get, regardless of how they voted.
That's true. That's right.
Because a little kid going to a hospital, you know, a gentleman said yesterday, you know, well, there are plenty of places, emergency rooms will take children. They were talking about Jimmy Kimmel's baby. And they said, well, emergency rooms have to take children. And I thought to myself, but that was the issue. That's why we were putting together something that would allow people not to have to take up all that time in the emergency room.
And who pays for emergency rooms?
You know, and that's where it is. That's
Right.
where so we need to keep an eye on this because this really does affect everybody. It really does. You may not need it today, but you may need it in a year from now. And if you don't have it, you're going to be mad as hell. We'll be right back.